And I would like to welcome both families here today. First of all, to the Barnes family. I'd never met your mother, Monica, but I know from the tributes presented here today that she was somebody who her constituents could be very proud to have called a local representative, and also somebody you could be very proud to call a mother. And I'm sure the pride you have in her is enhanced by what you've heard from her colleagues, her former colleagues here today, and the political representatives. I'd like to welcome from my own county the Harte family and your dear late father Paddy, and particularly his dear wife Rosaleen, and your nine children: Jimmy, Paddy, Garrett, Mary, Anne, Roisin, Ethna, Johnny, and Emmett. And there's no doubt that Paddy gave tremendous service to the constituency of Donegal North East, serving from 1961 to 1997. It's clear from his family taking up that baton as well that Paddy's strong ethos of public service is very much carried on in his family, whether it be through politics, whether it be through involvement in media, or whether it be through your commitment to local community. And certainly, as somebody growing up in Donegal in my young days, as I was becoming politically conscious, Paddy Harte was one of the big names in the county, along with Hugh Conaghan, Neil Blaney, Pat Cope Gallagher, of course, the Coughlins, and Jimmy McDade. He would have been somebody my grandfather would have known. Willie Bradley from Dunree would have been an active party canvasser and would have canvassed for Paddy. I'm not sure how he would feel about his grandson playing a Fianna Fáil TD and paying tribute to him. Indeed, Paddy was my first occasion here in the Dáil as a sixth-class primary school student. It was on a school tour from Donegal that Paddy actually was the TD who hosted us here, and I remember well meeting him at the front of the Dáil here and being introduced by my principal, Sarah McDermott, at the time. I think the event was set up by local councillor Bernard McGuinness, working along with him that day. I'm not sure they always worked as hand in glove as they did on that occasion, but they certainly they did at that time. It was, I remember it well, and certainly it was a tremendous, it certainly awakened and developed my own interest in politics from that time on as well. Of course, Paddy, having survived that many years in politics, particularly in Donegal politics, which is not easy, he wouldn't have been without craft either. I remember one winter's night when I was still in school at the time as well, and not coming to her front door, and who was it but Paddy Harte, apparently lost. Not sure where he was going, but he had an appointment at we had a small old-style country pub and shop, which was all the one, since closed. The next house over the road was another McConalogue's, which happened to be a pub as well, and a Fine Gael linked to McConalogue's, where Paddy would have been going to. But he managed to get himself lost that night anyway, and rocked up to the door, wondering where the other McConalogue pub was. And certainly the conclusion in the McConalogue household that night was that it was a cute move by Paddy to see if my mother still held any linkages to her father's Fine Gael allegiances. But anyway, he was innocently given directions to the pub down the road, and was none the wiser as to his main mission, which we had concluded he was on. Certainly, Paddy served at a time whenever politics was quite different, and it was before social media. It was a time whenever you had to be, the commitment level was just as high, but in a different way from now. Richard, Deputy Boyd Barrett, mentioned earlier on the trip up and down to Donegal, and certainly whenever Paddy would have been doing it, difficult and all as the road is now, prior to all the bypasses that were put in the last number of years, whether it be Carrickmacross or Castleblaney or RD. It was certainly a much more arduous journey at that time. His great contribution, of course, was the development of the All-Ireland Peace Park in Western Flanders, and its opening a year after Paddy himself finished as a politician in 1998 was a tremendous commitment to him, and really represented and displayed the type of politician he was, working very closely with Glenn Barr in terms of achieving that, and certainly very much ahead of his time in relation to acknowledging the role and the memory of those who had died in the First World War, the many Irish people. For a man who spent 35 years in politics, he was, despite that, he was somebody who very much enjoyed his retirement and didn't give any outward display of missing it. On the occasions I would have met him, he seemed very interested in history and his pastimes, very involved in his family, and continued to be very outgoing and happy. And I know it was something which was important to him and important to his own family, that his last days were spent in Lifford Hospital as well, which he had a very strong affinity to and commitment to over the years. But I know despite the fact of his great legacy of 35 years as a politician and of his strong work on behalf of the people of Donegal, it was clear at his funeral that his biggest legacy was that of his 9 children and his 24 grandchildren. And certainly the pride which all of you showed in him that day was, I think, very representative of the pride he had in all of you. So it's tremendous to have you here today, and Oireachtas Riv Go Rivanana.